Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a very interesting week in the Israel and the Gaza Strip, hasn't it? We're going to talk about that tonight and the horror on both sides tonight on the report from Tiger Mountain. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a very interesting week in Israel, ladies and gentlemen, hasn't it? You know, not a good idea to go to a music festival in southern Israel the past week, I'll tell you that much, because Hamas launched a rather extraordinary counter-offensive from the Gaza Strip, killing approximately 1,000 Israelis. You know, their techniques were rather interesting. They obviously broke out of the concentration camp or the ghetto of Gaza. They were using kind of parachuters and they were using sometimes drones and things, and they were flying out into the regions around the Gaza Strip and attacking people. Obviously, there was a lot of damage done. One particular thing that was horrifying was a kind of music festival, a celebration of peace, ironically. There was a kind of big dance event, and I actually knew somebody who was meant to DJ there who decided not to go, very luckily. So basically they flew in on, parachutists flew in with machine guns and basically shot up the joint. There's some horrible photographs that have come out about that. Look, this whole situation is very complex. I mean, there are many conservative people, on the right, and some of them might be watching the show, who are very pro-Israel. I'm not one of those people, ladies and gentlemen. I've always been... I guess I really don't pick a side because, as I say, I don't really have a horse in the race. I would have much prefer if the Holy Lands remained in the hands of the British and Christians, because I think we're far more peaceful than the Muslim and the Jewish camp, who just seem to want to play out this awful fight. It's kind of like... Lord of the Rings, sorry, not Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Flies is what's going on there at the moment. They're just murdering each other. Obviously, when Britain handed over its territory of Palestine, to the Palestinians and to the Jews after World War II, I think that's turned out to be a huge mistake. Obviously, that might upset a few people like Avi Yemeni and a few other people in the freedom movement who are very, very pro-Israel. Basically, I don't give a fucking shit, basically, as you well know. I say what I think here at the report from Tiger Mountain. I'm not a fan of Israel. I think it's pretty much a criminal state. I think what they have been doing to the Palestinians for a long time is horrible. It's not surprising if you basically imprison and put into a concentration camp a couple of million people, that essentially from out of this ghetto, you're going to have resistance. And that's what we just saw the past week. And then, of course, this is now being used to, bomb, whatever is left of Gaza, which is a very small place, with a couple of million people living in it. It's just a terrible situation. What's interesting, too, is you remember during World War II, there was the ghetto in Warsaw, and the people who rebelled, in the Warsaw ghetto, it's a very famous rebellion. They fought the local Polish people and the Nazis, and then they were all killed. We're seeing almost like the Jewish version of that, except this time the Jews play the Nazis and the Palestinians play the Jews, strangely enough. So I think that's a reasonable kind of analysis to what's going on for whatever reason. Obviously, I don't support the actions of Hamas. And it is horrible that there's been a loss of life on the Israeli side, particularly from innocent people who are just going to a music festival. I don't celebrate something like that. I'm not, but it's strange though, isn't it? Like Black Lives Matter has praised the Palestinian side, and there's a few far left people who essentially now have a very similar position to me on some of this stuff. Some of them have gone on to actually praise what Hamas has did. I wouldn't do that, but I do understand the resistance of the Palestinian people and that it flares up into violence sometimes. And obviously, I think that Israeli aggression is the main cause of it. And also, I think it's very interesting the way that this is going to be pushed onto Iran. There's already blaming Iran, and maybe Iran was involved in some way. It's hard to tell. It's very strange that the Biden regime has given $6 billion, not 6 million, $6 billion dollars to Iran. In a sense, maybe possibly even funding this operation. This goes to show that, it's like Fauci funding the gain of research in Wuhan, isn't it? It's like they fund and create the very crisis which will bring in their kind of horrible solution or final solution, ladies and gentlemen, the final solution to the Palestinian question. It could be that Gaza is going to be occupied and leveled. And I don't know what will happen to the couple of million people who live there, or it will start a war with Iran. Obviously, you've got Blinken, the Jewish Secretary of State. He's been flying around at the moment, carrying on. But I will say one thing, ladies and gentlemen, about this. This wouldn't have happened under Donald Trump, okay? Donald Trump was very pro-Israel, but I saw Donald Trump's strategy as being strategic. As what he was saying is I will give Israel what you want and I'll protect it. But the Jewish people in America who promote open borders and all the various things that are destroying America are going to have to pull their head in. So he was he wanted to do a win-win. Like, I'll look after Israel, which I know most Jewish people care about, but, Jewish intellectuals and globalists in America who wish to destroy America, you're going to have to pull your head in a bit. And that was unacceptable to them, because obviously it's pro-Zion and it's pro-globalism. And they work as a kind of dialectic. They're not actually the same camp, in my opinion, but they are connected. So it's very interesting. But I'll tell you this would not have happened under Donald Trump. So this whole attack does, I think, really strengthen Trump's case. And I actually think he's going to win now. I think with this, and obviously with Benjamin Netanyahu back in, Bibi was an ally of Trump at one stage, even though he betrayed him over the rigged election in 2020. Bibi betrayed them. Surprise, surprise, Bibi betrayed him. Who would ever have guessed that? But anyway, look, I do think, we're going to see Trump back, which I think will at least be better than fucking Biden, because anything would be, or maybe RFK, who knows. But this is it. So obviously there's been a huge event. This is a big deal. And I think another important thing to note is you should note the way that the Ukraine war is pretty much winding down. The Zionist government there, the Jewish Zelensky fellow, has run out of Ukrainians to kill, and the Russians are succeeding. And basically, even though they're pouring in more aid and more money to launder and waste on things, they're basically running out of men to keep the Russians from the door. So I think that war will probably collapse. And obviously that's why this next one is kicking off, because they constantly need a war for their forever wars. And obviously, the Middle East had gone quiet to some extent, particularly during COVID, and it's kicked off again. So that's the report from Tiger Mountain. It's quite long, this report, but it is a complex situation. So obviously, I welcome other opinions, and please leave your opinions in the comments. And that's the report from Tiger Mountain for this week.